Hey you all. Today I'm going to spend some time on one example of how in the mainstream these days, in the mass media, in various examples of popular culture, Hollywood, all kinds of activism, there is a surface layer of what is seemingly happening and what people are seemingly promoting. And then there's a layer of what is actually going on under the surface. And a lot of the time with activism, with people running around being thought leaders or celebrities, whatever, various kinds of campaigns that seems to be pro one thing, when you look deeper down, is actually against the very thing that it pretends to support. And maybe your head is already a bit spinny when I say these things, because we're in this kind of landscape where psychopaths operate, where they learn how to twist and bend reality, the kind of interpersonal dramas that can play out an intimate relationship with gaslighting and all kinds of reality distortion that can also happen in the mainstream. And it is happening in the mainstream. That's the point. So maybe the title of this video was a bit surprising to you, but let's dive into what I want to show. So I saw this one picture in a Telegram group that I'm part of just the other day. Let me get that up here. Hey, straight white men, pass the power. I asked my people in my own Telegram group what they saw in this one, and they saw divisiveness, they saw polarization. I think a lot of people see this as a message of empowerment. It's time for straight white men to stand back after having ruled the world for who knows how long, and that it's time for everyone else to receive power. Given the mainstream narratives about patriarchy, white supremacy, heteronormative behavior, all of that stuff, then of course this may seem like an empowering message. And I'm going to show to you how it's exactly the opposite. What's happening here is that there is a fairly straightforward message that those who are not straight white men cannot be powerful until straight white men pass the power. And what is that likely going to look like? It's some kind of battle against the patriarchy. It is a battle against heteronormativity. Even the words of the progressive mind are so, I can hardly say them. That is about as disempowering of a message as it's possible to give somebody, because you're identifying three forces in humanity that have undeniably been true. You're identifying them all as obstacles to me doing well. And so all of these things need to change in the world for me to have a fighting chance of thriving in this world. What happens then, because this is quite overwhelming to take in, is that this straight white man, and this is where it gets interesting for me, this straight white man will be internalized for this black woman, or whoever else it is. It could be a white gay guy. It will be internalized as some kind of super ego or inner critic or inner saboteur that attacks them inside. Oh, well, you're not straight. Oh, you're not white. Oh, you're not a man. You're not good enough. You cannot ever be happy. You cannot ever thrive. You suck. You're terrible. This, that, and the other. You know what it means to have an inner critic. And if you explore that inner critic, you will actually find that it has a particular kind of signature. It probably reminds you of a particular person. It does have a race, typically. It does have a gender. We carry quite distinct inner critics. And when you actually indoctrinate somebody in having a particular kind of inner critic over time, you can deeply influence how people operate in the world. Are you with me? It's a little bit mind-bendy what I'm talking about, but it's what is going on. You cannot be powerful until straight white men pass the power. And in my perception, the people who are walking around waiting for the power to be passed are the ones suffering the most from this message. Because for them, it's impossible to actually thrive until there is a change in their psyche. But they believe that the change actually needs to be external to them in the systems of society. And the crazy paradox is that the people who peddle this message, that feed the narratives, that fund these narratives, who are they? Well, they're often straight white men. But you can add one more characteristic to it. They're also old. If I was going to do some pop psychology with them, I would say they are quite far along on the psychopathic spectrum. Because in order to be able to present as one thing and actually be working for exactly the opposite, you need to be quite far along psychopathology. But you can be a very well-functioning person, a narcissistic person, whatever, but let's be a little bit careful with the diagnosis here and just look at the phenomena. So I want to show to you now what happens. Say if a minority person looks at this message and goes like, no, I don't see that. I have the power. I don't need anyone to pass it. I have the power. What are you talking about? I have the power. What happens then? Well, the people that don't agree with that are typically funded by straight white men who are also old geezers that have psychopathy and narcissism running in their spectrum. If there's a little background noise right now, it's because there's other people working in the kitchen behind me. Don't mind it. They are the ones that are peddling this message. Now, do you get it? And this messenger actually funds all kinds of activist groups where a lot of minority leaders will actually be paid obscene amounts of money in order to push this message of victimization on people of their demographic. And so this happened, for instance, in Black Lives Matter when Patrice Can-Cullors was basically funded by George Soros.
I am not listening. La 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 la.
Nice fella. I wonder if he's gay.
And then all of a sudden, all of the people of the US started to also send money their way, thinking that they were supporting Black lives. What did Patrice Can-Cullors do with that money? Well, she started giving it away to her family. She started buying real estate. And where did she buy them? In white neighborhoods. So that money went to one community leader that actually turned out to betray the contract that she had with the people that she pretended to lead. And this is insidious. So what happens with the people who say no? Let's return to that. And that's what I want to show you. Because it's happening very often. If you know Candace Owens, she's a conservative Black woman, very, very smart, beautiful, very resourceful, thinks of herself as powerful and, a sovereign being. But she's been cancelled left, right, and center because she doesn't toe the line of the narrative that she should be victimized. And here's another one. I like this. It came out just a couple of days ago. Writer and coach 29 reveals she was told she's not truly Black after writing a viral open letter blasting the cult of wokeness and insisting she's not oppressed by her skin color. Now, this is an anti-narrative message. What happened? Well, a writer and coach has revealed how she faced a backlash over a viral letter in which she said, "I'm not oppressed because I'm Black." This is a woman who has more than 200,000 followers on Instagram. She runs a successful coaching business. She's doing better than the average of all racial groups. And so she doesn't really see of herself as a victim. And why should she? Unless, of course, she's experiencing all kinds of racism. But in her perception, she is not. I was messaged, here we go, mainly by white people telling me that I am oppressed But I wasn't raised to be a victim, and I refuse to be one. So, what's the deal with white people insisting that other racial groups are victims?
Audio Jungle.
Some of them are. Let's not kid ourselves. But a lot of them don't perceive themselves as such. And when they don't, white people try to cancel them.
Audio Jungle.
Mainly white people, also some minority groups, of course. White people try to cancel them. Why? Because white people are really uncomfortable with racial minorities rising in their power, because white people are currently completely hijacked by a rescuer complex in the drama triangle. And when I cannot rescue minority groups, I don't know who I am anymore. My life seems meaningless. I don't have any level of understanding of who I am. I now need to look at myself and my own problems instead of being an activist for other people's problems. So basically, white people need other minority groups to be disempowered for selfish reasons. We are using minority groups for our own sense of importance. It is a narcissistic project that, for the most part, powers social justice and wokeism. This is mind-bendy. It's hard to integrate, but when you start to realize the people that push this kind of message in order to actually disempower the people that they seem to help so that they can use them as a political weapon. They're being completely objectified and essentially viewed as slaves. Still, this is modern colonialism. From straight white men, largely, but also a lot of Karens and other white people. It's a colonialism of the mind that hijacks the psyche of minority groups. And this, it's so prevalent right now in corporate America and corporate the West, and politics and various kinds of activism. White people that are brainwashed into progressive thinking are using a colonialist mindset to objectify and oppress minority groups so that they can feel good about themselves. And this in turn is sponsored and financed by straight white men, not only straight white men, also some gay white men, but largely white men, who are old. Not always, but often. Take George Soros as a great example, because he seems to be one of the most or one of the central people for stoking the fires of activist groups. He's one of them. But because he has carefully set it up that everyone who is in this non-white group is in a dependency relationship to him financially, he gets a free pass. He will not be demonized as a straight white old man, even though he's behind everything. Well, everything is a big word. Of course, he's not behind everything, but he's a very central player. So I hope that by now, you now get to see that there is a sign here that has one message, and then there is an underlying message that is actually subversive and is creating the exact opposite effect of the seemingly surface message. The difference between message seemingly of empowerment for people who are not straight white men, and then the actual mind control mechanism that is coming from installing a, shall we say, a white patriarch inside of their heads that can never be defeated because it's internalized as a psychological phenomenon and disregarding of anything that is in the external world. This internal world will always remain even if the external world one has been completely demolished. And that is because whatever you have as a psychological dynamic, you will increase it by fighting it. What you resist persists, right? So this is the strange phenomenon that by having installed this successfully, you will have forever victimized this group, and now you can control them as soldiers in your own political war for total autocratic, totalitarian rule over humanity. And that is how social justice and woke causes, even if social justice started out with the best of intention, that it has turned into a weapon for totalitarianism. And that, my friends, is what I wanted to share with you today. It's a bit of a mouthful, perhaps, something to chew on. But if you want to hear more messages like this, where I undress the surface messages to reveal what's under, then let me know in the comments below. Let me know your reflections on this. Feel free to subscribe. Join me for more of this kind of inquiries. But just let me know that this is content that you're interested in receiving more of. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for being with me today, and I will speak with you again next time. Bye-bye.